Hello, everyone. This is JB back at you with another review discussion on The Dragon Prince. This is season 2, episode 3, Smoke and Mirrors, where I will talk about the episode and give you my thoughts. Again, this is spoiler warning, okay? So I will be talking spoilers as I do with all of my discussions. So again, this was the episode Smoke and Mirrors, and from the beginning, again, we pick up right where we left off in the last episode, where Rayla is confronting Calum about the dad's passing. Of course, Calum found out from Claudia, and there's a little bit of, I don't want to say disappointment, but a little bit of a disconnect. I think part of it was Calum was just, really dealing with the fact that his father passed away. And then after that, this is something minor, but I did take this in my notes. I want to point it out that there was a moment where Claudia and Rayla were like intersecting paths, and Rayla specifically goes from out of her, high ground place so that, they would meet at one point and kind of just stare each other down. Now, I'm not sure why exactly, or I have some reasons, but I think they're irrelevant now, why exactly they're staring down each other, but I just wanted to point that out as well. And then so Calum, he tries to tell Ezrin about his father's passing, and he goes to him at night, realizes that Ezrin's sleeping, so he's like, okay, I'll wait until the morning. The morning comes, and he goes to take Ezrin for a walk. And, there's a great reference to the sandwiches joke that I thought was great when Ezra was like, are we talking about sandwiches? And Caleb was like, no, we're not talking about sandwiches. I just love that throwback to that joke. But as, Caleb is starting, to try to say, like, sometimes in life there's going to be hard conversations, and, Ezra thinks that it's about him and his training with Zim. And Ezra saying like how, like Zim is not picking it up, and, there's this one like really cute, thing where like, Ezra says like, oh, well, Dad used to say, this to me, like, oh, Ezra, you're a handful, and he tries to do it with Zim as well. And I think that this really goes to show the type of relationship that that Ezra and his father had. The fact that Ezra is trying to model that to Zim. And so then, Caleb realizes like, yeah, I can't tell Ezra yet. And so what I like about this show is that he goes back to Rayla, and it was kind of like, all right, I see where we're coming from. I see why you couldn't tell me. And I tried to do that with Ezra, and I understand. And, and I really like that this show does that, because sometimes there's shows where they just create conflict just because, and, if this was a lesser show, they would have just drawn out the conflict between Caleb and Rayla. It's like, oh, well, you didn't tell me my father died, and blah, 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 and it just would have been this, drawn out thing. But I like the fact that, like, these characters actually communicate and act like real people. The reason why there was a little bit of tension between Caleb and Rayla wasn't because he was mad at her. It was more he was reacting in the moment, and he definitely admits to Rayla like, yeah, this was hard, and he understands. And Caleb also recognizes that Soren is definitely not telling the truth, and so he does like, okay, maybe there is something to what Rayla has been saying. Also, there was Soren had a Sokka moment, where he's like, oh, fine, and hits the tree, and the little winged creatures attacks him. And I swear the writers, like, wrote in the script, has a Sokka moment, and that's what I thought of. Then we cut to Viren, and, he is looking at this mirror. He notices that there is a fire. It looks like it's in some sort of library or study of sort. And then he sees a star elf. And this is the second time that we see a star elf. I'm assuming that's what it is, because it's an elf for humanoid figure with like stars on his uh, body and cloak. And we see this actually in the opening credits of each episode when, there's like again, looks like a star elf with the hands. They roll away the scroll, and then it goes into the land being split in two. And so I don't know if those are connected, but that's that. And we cut back to Claudia and Caleb. They meet in private, and she gives him the letter that King Hero had given him and that he had dropped by accident. And then Claudia tells Caleb that, her and Soren will come with them and help them bring the Dragon Prince to Zadia. Of course, Rayla is like, yeah, this is a trap. And so then Rayla goes to the Moon Mage and it was like, can you help us? I need your help with something. And so Soren and Claudia do end up tricking them where, Soren falls right into Rayla's trap where, Rayla's like, oh, I'm just going to go get some moonberries. And Soren's like, yeah. And so he follows Rayla and attacks her. And then Claudia does the dark magic snake chain thing to chain up Ezrin and Caleb. And then, Rayla's just stalling because she knows there's only a matter of time before they realize. And of course, Claudia does realize that it is an illusion. Realize that it was an illusion this whole time. It cuts back to Viren and the mirror. So, again, he sees the Star Elf again, and then there's a moment where he thought the Star Elf saw him, but then it appears that the mirror is one-sided, and the Star Elf was just, fixing its cloak or something. So then we cut back to the Callum and the gang, and, again, Claudia realizes that there were illusions of Ezra and Caleb. And she tells her brother like, hey, these are illusions. And Rayla's like, we got you. Look, here they are for real, and they're on Fifi in the air. And Soren's like, they're getting away, and Claudia's like, no, they're not. And so then she uses dark magic to create like this snake dragging like thing to essentially grab on to Fifi and is pulling the group closer to Claudia. But then the chain guy, I don't remember his name. He just reminds me of Sparky Blue Man. Again, these Avatar references are never going to end. But the chain guy who was following them appears out of nowhere and stops Claudia from stealing them or pulling them close. So then Caleb realizes that Rayla was indeed right. And it sort of like solemnly realizes, Rayla's like, yeah, I was right. And Caleb was just like, yeah, you were right. And then it cuts back to Viren and the mirror. And it happens again that the Star Elf sees him, and then the Star Elf puts its hand toward the mirror, so it's revealed that it is a two-way mirror. They can see each other, and then the episode ends with Claudia and Soren talking to the chain guy, being like, "You're a traitor, and we're gonna throw you in prison." And that is the episode there. So I have a few thoughts about this one. Again, my first thought is I love the double meaning and the title. Again, this was Smoke and Mirrors, and you had sort of the storyline with Viren and the mirror, and obviously there's a mirror there, and it seems like there's like Seems like dealing with fire, um, like kind of triggers the magic in this mirror, because in both cases, Viren extinguishes fire, and that's how by accident, but that's how he sees the other side. And the Star Elf did something very similar. He kind of extinguishes the fire, and then it's like they can see each other. And so the mirror is triggered. In my belief, is triggered by fire and smoke. So there's that element of the title, and then there's the saying "smoke and mirrors." When something is not exactly truthful, or something's being the truth is being hidden, and we see this with our main group, with Claudia and Soren sort of tricking the Calum crew, but then Calum crew through Rayla tricks them back. So it was like a trick. And so, yeah, I just, again, I'm starting to see a theme here with the double meanings of the titles, and I'm here for that. Also, another thought is I really enjoyed the music. The score of the show has grown on me. Now, my expertise is in music. I have 2 of my degrees in music, actually in composition. So this is something that, I take very seriously. And I wasn't really a fan, like, of the first few episodes of season 1. It just seemed too, like, video gamey to me, and just a little bit too, I don't know, just not a lot of substance there. But I do like the main, like, Dragon Prince theme, and that is now stuck in my head. And I have really enjoyed the music this season, especially when we're going to different scenes. You're going into that scene because of the music that is happening. And one way that this really was manifested is in the mirror with Viren's scene. Every time it was right, the music would almost start like 2 seconds before, and we knew we were going back to that storyline. It's kind of like this piano, but like mysterious kind of, and it's because we're kind of figure out like what's going on with this mirror. So I like how the music has played a better role, and even at the end of last episode, ended really like somber, and like there was a moment of sadness, but also urgency, and the music really delivered that well. And so I think I have enjoyed the music, and this thus far in this season. Next out, the mirror guy, or the mirror person or woman. Who are they? And a lot of people at this point think that it is a woman, or the Star Elf. And so it was like, who is this person? And again, like I said, we see a Star Elf in like the opening title credits. Is that connected? Who is this person? Why are they in this place? Where is this place? Those are questions we see if we get answered later on. Next point is Claudia is still gray. She is definitely still gray. It's like she has this great moment with Callum, with giving him the letter, and it's like, I want to give this to you. But then also, like, support Soren's plan to kind of capture them. And, she says, there's no other way. And then, when Caleb and the crew are getting away on Fifi, like, she really, like, she's like, no, they're not getting away, and does that dark magic, to try to pull them back. And that really goes to show that she is still gray. And I appreciate that, Claudia's, her character is still consistent from episode to episode. My next point, and I sort of touched on this when I was recapping the episode, so I'll keep it short. But yeah, I really did appreciate, that Callum understood where Rayla was coming from. That it wasn't just this continued tension between him and Rayla. It's just like, yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. I get why you couldn't, tell me that my father died. And I just appreciate that they had that conversation. Again, so many shows, there's just this tension, and they just don't talk. Or you read books, and it's like, if they just talked, they just had conversations, it would fix the issue. The Last Jedi comes to mind. with Poe, uh, and the other, I forgot her name, the general, and it's like, if they just had a conversation, we could have avoided half of that movie. And I like the fact that here, that Claudia and not Claudia, Caleb and Rayla have that conversation, and they, understand each other. And I love that. I love that there was a conversation. They acted like adults and talked to each other and figured that out. Um, and second to last point, it's been a rough. I mean, it's been a rough day for Callum. I mean, he's had it rough. It's like he finds out that his father died. He's dealing with that. He's dealing with the burden of dealing with Azrin. He thought he was finally getting somewhere romantically with Claudia, but then she, betrays him, and he thought he knew her, and like, yeah, it's been rough for Caleb. So hashtag poor Caleb. We got you. We're behind you. Just keep pushing. Find out I can't do magic. It's been a rough go. It's been a rough go for him. Um, but I like the fact that he still is organic. He responds the way that you think someone going through that will respond, and that could be double edged sword. Like, it's he's sad. You see the impact of the mourning his father, but it's also not too far. He's not like flipping out on people, even when he kind of gave Rayla the silent treatment for a couple minutes. It was an appropriate response. It's the way like you would think someone would react to the situation is the way that he reacted. So I did appreciate that his reactions were pretty realistic. And then the last thing, and I don't want to go too much into this because I don't want to I don't want to ship quite yet, and so I'm not shipping this. I'm just pointing out a certain shot reminded me of another shot. And again, this is another Avatar reference. These Avatar references are gonna happen because it's just we're watching this show because we like Avatar. Like, that's the truth of the matter. But there's a shot right at the end of the episode, where Azrin is like showing Zim like, hey, this is what flying feels like. Open up your wings, and they're kind of having a bonding moment, and Rayla is just enjoying that bonding moment, and then she looks at Caleb, and she looks at him, and he's sad, understandably so. I mean, like, he's had a rough 24 hours, and she puts her hand on his shoulder, and then the camera goes into his perspective. He sees her, and then he looks to the right, and he sees Azrin and Zim bonding, and then he smiles. And this reminded me exactly, almost shot by shot, of Katara and Aang. And the episode I'm thinking of is this is after Team Avatar lost Appa, and Aang was obviously like sad about that and upset about losing Appa, and like they were traveling to Ba Sing Se, and they had to go through the Serpent's Pass, I think, and they were traveling with the family, and like the woman was pregnant, and the woman has these dramatic things. You always gotta you put a pregnant woman just to give that drama of, oh no, the baby's coming, and so the baby is being born, and like Aang and Sokka, for that matter, are kind of just really in their feelings. And Aang is still upset about Appa, and Katara touches his shoulder while he's thinking about Appa. It goes into his perspective. He looks at Katara, and then he looks to the right, sees the family and their baby, and smiles. And that was like the first time he smiled throughout that episode. And like, the parallels are like so similar. Like, even from like the camera shot of it looks exactly the same, of Katara and Rayla touching Caleb and Aang, and then Aang and Caleb looking at Katara and Rayla, and then the camera shifting a little bit to the right, and you see, happy family or happy bonding moments. And the character who has gone through just a buttload of this nonsense and unfortunate events, ends up, uh, smiling and for the first time in a while and enjoying the moment for what it is. So yeah, again, I'm not trying to ship anyone just yet. Especially with Caleb and Rayla, especially with what we know of Claudia and how pure the interactions between Caleb and Claudia are. But I just wanted to point that out to you. As I was seeing that, I was like, that shot reminds me of something. What does that shot remind me of? And I love my Avatar. I think there are very few people on this earth who knows more Avatar than me, although there probably is. But I think I know the most Avatar, so I was like immediately start going through my mind. I was like, okay, what episode did this remind me of? Because I know Katara Dang had this reaction. I didn't confirm it per se. I should look back and confirm it, but this is what I remember that episode being, and it's almost like the writers are like, hey, remember that episode of how Katara interacted with Aang? We want that, the same exact thing, shot from shot, with Caleb and Rayla. So that was just my thoughts on that. Anyway, that's all I have for this video. So please let me know your thoughts in the comments. What did you think about Claudia and Soren and their grayness? Who do you think this star elf is? Is it a guy or a woman? And then finally, what do you think of the interaction between Caleb and Rayla? And do you think did that also remind you of the Katara Aang interaction? So let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you again soon. Have a good day.